Indeed. I hope I'm able to also get something from Mr. Adamson, and also because I want him to, because it's coming from the anti-corruption campaigner point of view, the issue of the e-gate and what he had to say. For those of you who do not know, this is what Mr. Agboja had to say about the e-gate, the very, should I say infamous or very famous? Okay, the famous e-gate, forgive me so that I don't fall into trouble. The Minister of Roads and Highways designate Kwame Gavin Agboja has noted that the electronic gates launched by former Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia at the Kotoka International Airport should not have come at an extra cost to the government. He explained that the total cost of the e-gate could have been 1.7 million instead of $240 million quoted by the former government. This is what he said, and I quote, indeed, the few physical e-gates that were planted could cost 1.7 million Ghana cedis. But if Ghana had listened to what I was saying, it wouldn't have resulted in some of the embarrassment we saw at the airport when the former vice president was trying to commission it. If I were to tell you that there was even no contract for the e-gates, there's no contract, and they didn't know, he said during the vetting yesterday. And so that's it, Mr. Senanu. I'm not sure that you're surprised by some of these things anymore. You have seen worse, I guess, but share with me your thoughts on the road tolls, if you have any, and of course the e-gate issue.
Well, okay, so with the road tolls, I'm delighted at the approach being taken. I think that last week or so you raised it, and I talked about, look, or maybe there's another platform, how, University of Ghana, use a PPP and got it resolved. And it's not as if government has to put the money in it, find private sector partners who have the technology, the know-how, and you can get it done. And I think the way to go, as Osofo pointed out, because once the app is well designed, the accountability measures can be put in place so that there is an interface where other stakeholders can also monitor. And yes, we will see that this nation has accrued much more. In fact, in the aftermath of the cancellation of the road tolls and those tolling booths, you had groups of those who were working there giving us figures, telling us that what government was quoting, that it is not bringing much, was all wrong, and this is how much. And I was wondering, so I'm not too surprised also for you saying that these guys had several receipt books, and a lot of the money was going elsewhere. So I think that it's a way to go. Technology should be harnessed to improve the intake, and therefore, at the end of the day, the opportunities to maintain our roads, build new roads, etc., would have been catered for. Now, the matter of the e-gates, yes, it's no longer surprising, but it always tells me that they need to do an incisive analysis of our systems and what has broken down is crucial. And let me explain. In the public sector, you have units designed to do procurement. You have legal teams. You have a legal unit. You have directors responsible to ensure that the specific laws of the state that govern these processes are aligned with. And so anytime you hear that something has been executed without a contract, that is a multiple-layered failure, systemic failure. It tells you that we have bottomed out, and the likelihood is that persons can do things without even following laid-down laws. That's major. So, for me, it is not sufficient that and I heard him say that, I was watching when he made those comments, An interesting thing was that the questionnaire just moved on. He made his comments and then he moved on to the next question. I was like, okay, nobody wants to touch this. Now, so for me, it's very worrying because it suggests that we can have laws and yet individuals can go round circumvent it and still get things done in a nation that's supposed to be a democratic nation governed by laws. So it is something that I think we should keep on the front burner. This government needs to analyze it. I mean, the last time this happened, and I just couldn't wrap my mind around it, was with the SNL situation, where that report by KPMG and the fact that, I mean, contracts are not well done, things were not followed, laws were not, aligned with, that should not happen. So, yes, if it's there and there are any such contracts, let's do the investigation. In my view, we need to hold public sector officers accountable. And if we don't have our laws in shape to do that, the Conduct of Public Officers Bill should be finalized with all that it takes. Let's begin to hold them accountable so this kind of leakages do not happen in the future.
Very, very interesting. But of course, we're going to be chasing this. We'll also keep a tab on quite a number of them on the right. Let's now go to the issues of appointment, shall we? Again, I think today should be the last day, or yesterday was the last day. If we're looking at 14 days, according to the 120-day social contract, if we're taking the president by his word, then I'm sure today we needed to have the full list. But let me just run our viewers through what has been the latest so far before we look at the rest that are outstanding. The very one that came when people were just finishing Alpha Hour was that had to do with Mrs. Joyce Bar Mukhtar, where people felt that she was going to foreign affairs, but now the presidential advisor and special aide to the president. Stanislav Jose Dogbe is deputy chief of staff operations. Nana Oye Bampo Ado, deputy chief of staff administration. Seth Emmanuel Tekpe is presidential advisor on the economy. Professor Francis Dodo is national anti-corruption program. That is where I'm sure also Mr. Senanu sits, so I'll pick a thought. Larry Bevlo-Latte, special envoy to the Alliance of Sahelian States presidential staffer. Nanaya Jantua, surprisingly, presidential staffer. Beatrice Anangfio is presidential staffer. Shemima Muslim is deputy presidential spokesperson. Professor Kweku Danso Boafo is cabinet secretary. And so that's by way of that. And now, I'm not sure we've had Ministry of Health. We've not done Ministry of Interior, Defense. We've also not done, okay, so some of them are Foreign Affairs. We have not seen Communications, Digital Technology and Innovations yet. Environment, Science and Technology, nope. I think also, have we seen Labor, Jobs and Employment? Yes, I think so. Fisheries, Aquaculture, oh yes, we've seen that. And so these are the outstanding one. Walk me through whether or not anything was surprising to you. Reverend Bafoboni.
Regarding the staff at the presidency, yes. I wouldn't say that I've been surprised by any name that has popped up, not even with the adjunct one that you said surprisingly. Why? Remember that she was a very active person when President Mahama was in power with the energy sector. And was a very vociferous spokesperson that worked very closely with the president regarding the energy things, and has been a very vocal critic of the immediate past government when it comes to the issue of handling of energy-related matters. So much as she's a CPP person, she has always been in the front row when it comes to NDC governmental affairs as relates to President John Mahama in the past. So none of those names there are a surprise for me. I think that the Sahelian position given to Bevlo-Latte is a step in a very good direction. President Mahama, I think, is a really experienced diplomat. I mean, he's not gone the way of his predecessor. He's found a way of still aligning with ECOWAS, so that really cleaned this very important tripartite bloc, because he sees the importance of their position in terms of stemming the onslaught of terrorism that is coming from that part of our western coastal belt. So I think that is a very strategic move. And I think one of the most experienced soldiers we have had in this country, who is also a lawyer, par excellence, Bevlo-Latte, I think will do a good work. He understands the legalities and he also understands the ground and rules of engagement when it comes to military and combat-related issues. And I think that those three military leaders will be very, very comfortable with him because he speaks the language and walks the talk. So I think that should work quite well. I also get the feeling that he doesn't seem to have packed up the presidency so much. There are not too many people around him and not too many duplicity of roles. And one of the things that has been a big plus for me when it comes to GM's appointments is that he has allowed the old guard to occupy positions of mentorship. I mean, look at where Setepe sits, and you see that Atuforsen, now the substantive minister designate, was actually his mentee, as it were. So now he sits at the presidency and exercises some sort of coaching and guiding position and posture, which is a very, very good signal. And for me, in the medium to long term, I see an NDC that has a very clear mentorship and succession plan agenda going forward. And I think that is something that the opposition should also look at and be able to secure the future of the party. We are hoping the president will be able to make good on his promise because, like you said, by close of day today, the 14 days he gave to name his 60-member ministerial portfolio would have elapsed. And I do not want to see him renege on something that does not take too much to do, because then if you renege on just naming 60 people you want to work with, you get what I'm saying, then what about the big matters that have to do with running of Ghana as a whole? So I'm hoping and praying that before the stroke of midnight today, we would have woken up to the remaining list of the substantive sector ministers and their deputy ministers. And then I also want to plead, if it's possible, anybody is watching me from the vetting committee, I'm not saying they should be given an easy pass, but I think sometimes the drama is too much and we drag these vettings for far too long, especially for some of the people you already know. You've been in parliament with them 2, 3, 4 terms. You know them, you know their background, you know their competencies. It's not the place for trying to look like you are so very serious about the assignment you have been given. So let's get it over and done with. Let's get the president the full complement of his team, and let's get Ghana running and on track. And you see, yesterday alone, Mr. Trump, we can imagine how many bills and executive orders that he had penned. You see, this is a man ready to do business. When I came online, I was in high spirits. It was just the excitement of watching how he goes about his things. I'm not so much a fan of his persona, but I think that when a person has convictions, whether they are right or wrong, but they have convictions and they can articulate it and are willing to die for it, I admire that about anybody. That's why I'm a fan of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. I'm a fan of Lumumba. I'm a serious fan of President J.J. Rawlings. When I see people that put their money where their mouth is, even when where their mouth is not the most pleasant, they stir up something in me, because the world is full of people who want to be just politically correct, who want to be just nice, and want to just, blend into the crowd without making an impact. And that is not me. And that particular personality resonates very strongly with me.
I see. Very interesting thoughts. Mr. Senanu, tell me that you are going to be attached to the office of the National Anti-Corruption Program.
Professor He's already told you he doesn't want any appointment. Stop worrying, Mr. Senanu.
Because clearly, I cannot imagine why some of you are still not working closely with governments. Mr. Senanu,
even if I'm going to be given $1 billion a week, I'm not going to work in any government position. No way.
Is that the same story for Mr. Senanu?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we need to. You need to have the voices that hold them accountable.
Right.
If you all just join in, then when things are not going right, there are no voices. And they have to be credible voices. Sometimes we think that when people are talking, nobody's listening. But over and over again, I meet people who let you know, look, we take what you say seriously. So we will be here to make sure that, from behind, we'll be watching the path and telling them whether it is straight or crooked.
Right. But talk to me about that office, National Anti-Corruption Program.
Yes. Now, we have had the NACAP. We had NACAP 1, NACAP 2, and I see this as novel to the extent that we have never had within the presidency or within the government any corresponding office that works with us to deliver on this action plan, which really is one that we have had thorough stakeholder consultations to develop. And so it is a national plan, but there's been hanging between civil society and CHAD. CHAD has been the lead agency that has been leading us, convening us to take actions on this. Now, what that means is that really the execution has been purely at the operational level, dependent on what entities received from government. And if it's civil society that agrees to take a part, then depending on the monies we have raised through grants or through writing proposals. So that has not been effective. So to now have an office with somebody responsible, I think that takes this fight to a new level, and it indicates that this government is paying much more attention to what we may need to do to get results. And I'm delighted at that. I don't know much about Professor Francis, but I think he's from the sports background, am I right? And he used to be Standards Board. Is that the one?
No, not at all. It's not the one.
Okay, then I don't know him.
Yes.
Those
two people are also very different people. The Dodo at Ghana Standards is very different from the one with the formerly of the Sports Authority.
So I don't know. The one who's been appointed, is he any of these two?
No, not at all.
Oh, okay. Well, I have no clue about this current gentleman, but I would like to assume they've done some due diligence, and in the coming days, we probably will get his profile. But just the fact of the office, that gives, you mean that there should be some resourcing, and hopefully from government side, which has been one of the issues we've raised, that we've not had funding for NACAP from government. We've had funding for the regular institutions of state, and they have to then decide, based on their budget lines, what will be done, and that has not been effective. So hopefully, this is going to contribute substantively to getting better results within that fight against corruption.
Before I touch base with maybe we can end on that one finally, the issue of oral and the hullabaloo around it. I want us to do, I don't know what the question was really, and the fight was, not the fight, the kind of questioning around the LGBTQ, especially to the Minister Designate for Education by the minority leader and ranking on that particular committee, the Vetting and Appointments Committee. I didn't get the inputs really on what he wanted to do. Did you? And what was that all about?
I think generally, my perception generally, my perception generally, Koko, has been that it seems to me that the minority is trying very hard to sort of expose the real motive behind the immediate past NDC minority, the motive behind their pushing of this bill, whether it was really because they wanted proper family values or they were just trying to do that to upstage the president and to make Ghana look unpopular among the community of nations because of how a larger majority have a greater tolerance to this so-called deviant behavior. So sometimes I see that every opportunity there is in the public space and the public discourse, there's always an attempt to try and set up, the current administration to really gaslight them and to see where they really stand on the issues. But I think that Honorable Haruna Iddrisu was very clear, very emphatic that it's completely against his values as a person and and also regarding the faith that he represents. And I think that our president has also not hidden his position on these things. I just feel that this attempt of trying to drag feet and let it look like it's expired with the other parliament, and because I think at that time, as I said, I not quite clarified is that it is something that passed and should have gone to the presidency. And because of a legal issue, it did not arrive there. So it's not an incomplete work that falls within that provision or that standing order. I think explained that even that standing order actually runs contrary to the Constitution. If the Constitution is superior, then definitely the standing order must stand down the constitution to have its free course. So it's my prayer that the president will expedite action on it, and vocal persons like Honorable Sam George, who were championing this cause, should not go mute and go under. Let us push this and let's see it come to its logical conclusion.
I see. Mr. Sananu, before we go for oral and finally conclude, what was those questions about, really?
Well, I missed the questions, even though I saw Haruna's response captured elsewhere about his convictions and values. And for me, that was satisfactory. And I'm not too surprised. I mean, the LGBTQ battle we've had started with CSE, and I remember October 2023 or 2022. No, it was 2020 rather. This is before COVID. Now I'm missing my dates. Yeah. It is either October 2019, October 2019, when we had information that the Education Ministry was about to introduce CSE. And some of us thought that no, but this won't fly. I remember I had documentation forwarded to me by somebody in the UN at the highest level who is a Christian, and said, boss, we are getting worried as Christians even in the UN, because parts of the UN is sponsoring this thing, and we are worried that it will have impact on the children. A month later, it was in the news. And so we started this group against CSE. I remember they put innocuously in some newspaper an advert that they were going to have a stakeholder engagement at Osu Presby. So about 15 of us, we developed a position paper and ended up there. The minister himself was there, Napo. And when they launched it, fortunately, I was the first to speak. And I spoke from a cultural, historical, legal, and medical perspective why this should not happen. And they gave each of us 3 minutes. 6 of us spoke. I'm just highlighting the fact that I'm not too surprised, because this issue started within the education sector in 2019. It was that very robust response where people even flew in from Tamale, other TSOs. The Christian Council head was there, and we all spoke up against those, some small caucus there that were trying to say, no, we should proceed. You know, you needed to see the literature where 4-year-olds were going to be taught about masturbation, 6 to whatever year olds, condom wearing, and I mean, it was just totally unacceptable. So it's a sector we need to keep our eyes on, and it is where we found that the books, the material are being subtly changed, material that is our culture and beliefs is being introduced, and I'm not surprised that that question came up.
Interesting, very, very interesting. Now, finally, before we let you go, the issue of oral, now that, of course, there's going to be a Minister for Justice and Attorney General, now that we have the OSP and even an anti-corruption program and someone heading that particular one, what, in your view, would you want to see done to the Operation Recover or Loot? Let me start off with Reverend Bafoboni before I come to Mr. Sananu finally.
I honestly do not see what the hullabaloo is about this oral thing. You know, I mean, most of these, whether it's SHRAJ, whether it's OSP, whether it's Attorney General and so on, I think the basic thing that makes them interrogate matters is there must be either somebody reporting or something of public interest. Then they will go in there and then start their interrogation of the matter and see if it has any prima facie that will lead to prosecution going forward. Oral has become that agency, that collation center, if you will, where all such evidence and information is being sent. And I think that they've been asked to do that by the president. When they finish their findings, I'm sure these things will be channeled to the presidency, who would also send it to the right and appropriate quarters that are legally mandated by our constitution to deal with such matters. Honestly, when I was young, there was a proverb they used to say, if you see anybody protesting so loudly about a police station being set up in the communities because they are part of the armed robbery gang. So when you see somebody crying wolf about oral, maybe there is something to hide. But honestly, I don't see what the issue is. I remember when President Kufuor came, our country was wounded from 19 years of revolution and all those things. He decided to put together a National Reconciliation Commission. I don't think anybody had a qualms with it that it was constitutional, it's not constitutional, but we believe that it's something we needed to do to heal our nation. One of the things that this government campaigned on very strongly is that there's a lot of looting, a lot of stuff that has gone on, some of which, let's say, Honorable Agbeja has referred to that there was no contract and so on and so forth. It's enough of throwing around the allegations. Can these things be substantiated? If it can be substantiated, where are the culprits? If they are culprits, there are evidence. Why not try it? Serve as deterrent for others not to go that route, so that people understand that when you occupy public office, you can't enrich yourself at the expense of the people. Just as simple as that.
Absolutely, as simple as that. How about you, Mr. Senanu?
Don't mind the vociferous voices that have been speaking up against oral hygiene. I like to call it oral hygiene. Oral hygiene for all of us. Maybe they have some shadows chasing them, and so they want to try and push some confusion into the public space. Listen, left to me, the oral whistleblowing mechanism should be institutionalized. In the year following any transition, it should be triggered and available. The composition must always include persons of integrity with a track record of having pursued a fight against corruption, gathered evidence, and held that evidence, confidentially without exposing their sources. This mechanism would bring a lot of tangible results to our nation. Let's institutionalize it. I don't see any problem with the oral whistleblowing mechanism. I think it's something that may go down as a classic model that other countries and groups could learn from. I hope that this team delivers on their mandate, and I'm looking forward to us recovering a lot of the loot.
Absolutely, and I'm looking forward to that as well. Yes.
I just wanted to say this in passing that if it becomes institutionalized, I think that for this one, Mr. Senano and I will.
Oh, yes. I agree to that as well. I agree to that. And I'll push for that. I will push single-handedly for that. Thank you very much, gentlemen. We're grateful. Reverend Anaya Obafo-Boni is an architect, of course, a builder, and of course, also a pastor with the Eagles Network International Ministries. We're grateful that you can join us. Of course, Mr. Adam Senanu is an anti-graft campaigner who also joined us. We're grateful that you can stay with us. Remember that this is becoming an authority in everything you may need in a morning show. And so let your dial be locked here. We'll take a break. When we come back, there's a major conversation on education. I want us to go into it very well. Look, from food, from the issues of reopening, from colleges of education, what the way forward is, but most importantly, the vetting of the Minister Designate of Education will be at the center for discussion. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
gave me purpose, my provider. And when my enemies surround me, got me tied up. When they throw me in the pit inside the fire, you are my God and my King and my Father. Light to my path in the darkness, hope in my heart. When they heartless, Father, you reach out and call us. You're the lover of my soul, love is flawless. They don't understand my God is keeping me high, I know they go low. Cause me, I know they so low. That's my drive and I'm my body. Get to my enemy go. You are joy, you're my provider. Yeah, you're my provider. You are joy, you're my provider. Yeah, you're my provider.
Good conversation right there. Great conversation right there with Koku Lumo and his team. I don't know, but that was a really great review. He's going to be having another conversation about education, and you don't want to miss that also. But now it's time for us to get into the world of sports. Asamoah has been talking, has been telling people to rally behind the new government and all of that. I know Carl is fired up to take us away. Carlistus.
Hey, good morning.
Don't talk about Man U, please. Good morning.
No, you're not talking about Manchester United.
Yeah, we lost and we know. We'll get back up, okay? Yeah.
Sure. Anyway, good morning, and you look good in black.
Thank you. And you look dapper. I think black is for bold people.
Yeah.
Right.
Black is bold. Black is elegant.
That's why we're black people. Africa is black.
Of course.
So we're back in black again.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
this is
right.
Sports Break Black.
Yes.
Black Sports Break. Anyway, thank you so much for watching Wake Up Africa. This is the sports segment. Of course, this is Sports Break, your ultimate destination for everything sports. Sit down, relax, and get a coffee break as we go for a quick commercial break. When we come back, we move straight to the actions. All right, welcome back. This is still Sports Break, where we bring you nothing but the very best in the world of sports to keep you ahead and the conversations when it comes to sports, the history, the records, and of course, updates and interviews and everything right here on Minion TV. I'm Carl, and I'm your host. Let's move straight to our stories. And from the very first one, Australian Opens is happening in Melbourne, and the games are getting interesting. Of course, we're in the quarterfinals already, and in around 9:30 today, we'll be having a game that is Novak Djokovic, legendary Novak Djokovic, will be playing against Carlos Alcaraz, and around 9:30 a.m. But before then, let's watch some.
decree today that the power of God that is coming upon your life, no enemy will touch you and go free.
Experience the power. Take dominion.
Say the name of Jesus.
Name of Jesus.
I prophesy. Doors of favor. Open.
Action Chapel's Dominion Hour. Now, live, this and every Thursday on Dominion TV.
And from today,
to make it a surprise.
why?
I knew the dramatic appearance would excite everyone.
I've been looking for you for a very long time.
Why are you so intimidated?
But you just complain that I'm fat.
But you are fat.
Here is my son.
Give me what I want and I will set you free. Stop. Jesus has set me free. Yes, Lord.
Anita.
I wanted to make it a surprise.
Why?
I knew the dramatic appearance would excite everyone.
I've been looking for you for a very long time.
Why are you so intimidated?
But you just complain that I'm fat.
But you are fat.
Here is my son.
Give me what I want and I will set you free. Stop. Jesus has set me free. Yes, Lord.
Anita.
I wanted to make it a surprise.
Why?
I knew the dramatic appearance would excite everyone.
I've been looking for you for a very long time.
Why are you so intimidated?
But you just complain that I'm fat.
But you are fat.
Here is my son.
Give me what I want and I will set you free. Stop. Jesus has set me free. Yes, Lord.
Anita.
Welcome back. This is Wake Up Africa is on Dominion TV. We're excited that you can join us. Thank you very much for coming through for us from when we started from 6 a.m., 6:30 a.m. till now. Let's have our very final conversation on the very final lap. And this has to do with the phenomenon of education. Very, very key sector to every sector of the economy. One thing that we're looking for, a space we're looking forward to with regards reforms and whether or not the very topical and controversial issues will stay, i.e. the issues of free SHs and how we're going to reform them, whether or not there will be issues of the free tertiary admission and non-payment for first years, family values curriculum, whether or not there will be an introduction. And this is situated as far as the vetting of the Minister Designate for Education is concerned, Honorable Haruna Idrisu. Let's touch base with our guests. Dr. Peter Tefo joins us via phone lines. He's a Senior Education Advisor at the Africa Education Watch, and he joins us. And of course, Mr. Larry K. Agbado is the editor at the Teacher Education Journal. He joins us via Zoom. Let me say a good morning to you, Dr. Tefo, for joining us. Thank you. And also to you, Mr. Larry Agbado, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, and good morning to you.
Absolutely.
Happy New Year.
Many happy returns. We're grateful. Let me start off now with Dr. Tefo, if we can. Let's look at the vetting in general yesterday of the Minister Designate for Education. Quite a number of people have said that, well, what came to play yesterday by way of the display by the Minister Designate is, of course, how intelligent he is, how eloquent he is. Whether or not he touched on the rules as far as education is concerned is one thing we need to ask now. Your initial thoughts on what happens the vetting is concerned, Dr. Atef.
Thank you very much. Let me use this opportunity to extend greetings to my director, and all the officers and all our listeners. So, the Minister of Education, Honorable Haruna Idrisu, as we all know, is highly knowledgeable. He's knowledgeable. And my demeanor is somebody who always comes up to the level of people, and I believe, as he said, that he is who's taking us on and engage all people, listen to them and tap from the better of knowledge and experience that they have. And so, for that, the Lord is going to speak.
I see. Your place is a bit noisy, so while we are touching base with Mr. Agbado, if you can just reposition so we can get some clarity. But let's to you, Larry, now. Top issues on the agenda, of course, are the front burner yesterday, as far as that vetting was concerned. Free SHS review. There was also the issue of the free tertiary education, the family values curriculum, rural-urban gap, and other sector reforms. I understand you've written extensively on the issues of teacher education in the country. We'll touch base with that, but your key takeaway from the vetting yesterday, by way of your initial thoughts, then we can come to these issues that are top on the agenda.
All right, thank you very much, Kaku. Yes, I followed the vetting came in yesterday. The man Haruna is one astute politician that everyone was looking forward to watch yesterday. And as usual, you could see the respect that his colleague members of parliament even accorded him yesterday during the vetting, colleagues from both sides of the divide. And I think he did well. He did his best yesterday, looking at the period of time that he had to prepare for this vetting. I observed that the chief director for the Ministry of Education was there, which tells us that at least within the past few days, he has been having some consultations with these key people before he even officially takes office. Some of the responses he gave yesterday seem not to sit well with some of us on the other side with our work in the education sector. But this is where sometimes governments come, governments go, and they come in, and we offer the support we can to them to see how best they can address the challenges. Key among some of the responses he mentioned yesterday was this issue with the no admission fee policy, which I think is a very huge one. Looking at the challenges we are already going through with the senior high school education, the free senior high school education, the challenges that are coming out from there. You saw the news that came out last year after the elections, so now with issues of feeding at the senior high schools, where headmasters are now resorting to asking parents to pay for feeding and all that. Government has come in to intervene to make some supplies, but looking at those challenges, it should just serve as a guide to us as a country that going forward, we should be careful with how we approach things because we are not in the very good times with issues of finance.
So what's the real issue in there? You feel that that particular policy must not take effect, is that it?
I feel there should be options for the students to apply for other financial services like the student loan. Not every student is in need. Okay, not every student is in need. There are students who are from very good homes whose parents can pay this admission fees and the rest. So taking such burden from them, it's like you are taking the burden and then putting it on government when there are other key issues that such funds could be used in addressing. Okay, some of us from where we come from, the colleges of education, you know, about 2-3 years ago, our colleges of education were running double track system because there's no infrastructure there. Okay, and such monies. And yesterday, I heard that probably the colleges of education may be one of the groups that may be considered for this. Okay, and you go to the college, the admission fees, how much is it? About 2,500 to 3,000 that students cannot pay. On top of it, you are paying them trainee teachers allowance every month. No, I feel we are pampering them too much. And these funds could be used to do other very important aspects of our education sector and not just paying admission fees for students.
I see, before I touch base with Dr. Tafo on this particular one, there is a consultative committee that's going to be set up, understandably so, one that addresses issues like this. Is it one of the issues that you want to, put forward when this committee is set up? And do you have other CSOs or think tanks in there that agree with you on this particular one?
Oh yes, this morning I had a conversation with Dr. Peter Anti of the Institute for Education Studies. And he also lamented, and he also lamented about this free admission fees that were touched on by the Minister for Education. The consultative dialogue, in fact, some of us were expecting that some of these issues will have been kept on hold. Then when we have this dialogue, whatever that comes out of it, based on that, the implementation can then take on. But coming out with plans now that, okay, we are going to pay, it's going to be in the budget and all that, before we go to the dialogue, it means that we have already taken a stance.
Yeah.
It means we've already taken a stance. It's just like about 2-3 years ago, we organized a national dialogue to review the implementation of the 4-year Bachelor of Education program in the colleges of education. And before we got, the stakeholders were kind of calling that, okay, we should put on hold the trainee teachers allowance, okay, to champion those funds into other sectors of the colleges. Unfortunately for us, the Minister of Education, the then Minister for Education, Dr. Yao Seidichum, came for the conference on the opening day, and he said, government has the money, government will continue to pay the allowance. Okay. Now, if the minister comes to tell you that government has money and they'll continue to pay the allowance, and you participants at the dialogue are planning to kind of put on hold, or you are trying to make a proposal to government that want to put on hold the payment of the allowance, and the minister comes to tell you that we have the money to pay. What else do you do then?
I see.
You see, so
interesting, very interesting. Let me touch base with Dr. Tefo on this. Doc, if you can hear me, the free tertiary admission and the matters surrounding it, what is the position of Africa Education Watch, and if there's no position, official position, what would be your opinion on that?
Thank you very much. Sharing embraces the kindergarten and then the primary, junior high, and then the senior high. From the manifesto of the NDP, they have translated into policy, and therefore all that they have said, that even as they give them rights, so that every child will go through the kindergarten, get the start, and then to continue with the basic as the primary up to the junior high school, and then continue therefore as the child. And again, they have said that the school feeding program, they will now decentralize the purchase of goods as the food and basic supplies. Unlike previously where everything was central, they will be there, and that is also good. Again, they said they will also send and keep equity and make for all the teaching learning also that the schools need. Give them all that they need to ensure that this can be funded. So all these are good. But what is the driving force? The driving force is all about money. Money that they will use to do more. And I think the minister opened the door by saying that they will conquer the get. And they will have to get time to get a lot of money from that place to projects that we've been doing. Again, we have to make sure that about 20% of national property is all given to exist. According to the left, every country is good 20% of budget for education. Or, in other words, 4% of the GDP must be given to education. What is done, they will be able to solve all the numerous problems that is confronting pre-tertiary education.
Well, Doc, I must say that it was extremely difficult to hear you, and so again, I would ask the technical team to probably recall and see if we can. And I presume you're transiting, and so we'll see how that goes. But let me come back to you, Mr. Lariak. But what was, before I get back to the issue of free SHS, the family values proposition with that of the curriculum, and whether or not we are able to bridge the rural-urban gap, what were you looking for yesterday that you felt should have been at the front burner that you didn't see advanced by the committee, especially as far as the question is concerned?
Okay. For me, I think Honorable Akunyem Makins actually did justice to most of the questions. For me, he asked very relevant questions. And some of those questions that he asked, I was actually expecting the Minister for Education, the former Minister for Education, to have asked some of those things. Issues of the teacher licensure examination. You know, prior to the elections, the NDC party campaigned strongly on that when they win power, they were going to cancel the licensure exam and fix it into the college exams. But In the article I wrote yesterday, that has been published today in the Daily Graphic, I raised concerns over that. You see, the licensure exams is an act of parliament now. It's more or less a law. Okay, and before NDC can, or before the government can take any step to amend such a thing, they will have to go back to parliament. They have the numbers, though.
They have the 2/3.
Yes. So they can repeal it, they can amend it. But you see, our teacher license has gained some international recognition. Okay, now you have a lot of teachers who are traveling to Canada, UK, US to go and teach just because of the license we have here in Ghana, or the license that is being given to our teachers here. So, and the Act states that before anyone can write the license exams, the person should have completed any teacher education institution successfully. Okay, so that means you have completed the university or the college and passed all your exams. The current state of the exam requires that the pass list of the universities, of the colleges, are submitted by those universities and colleges to the National Teaching Council. And they now process those people for the exams. But what is in the NDC manifesto is saying that they are going to put the exams into the final exams of these universities and colleges. So as to whether you have successfully completed your university or college education, you qualify to sit for these exams. Okay. And about a year or two ago, we saw the results or some of the exam scripts of some of our teachers who sit for these exams. And we saw the kind of things that they write. Okay, so I just pray that some of the steps we take will not go a long way to affect the standards that we have been able to raise with this teacher license.
Quick question.
Okay.
Quick question on that same one, right? Was there ever any time the standards of teaching was in so much, or was brought to the attention and of you, the CSO, because if it's not broken, why do we fix it? Because yes, I can understand where you're coming from, that the exams they wrote, the results, but has there been a time in this country where the teaching, especially, and how the professional standards was pointing directly to the teachers and how what their knowledge was?
Okay, so not necessarily that, but you see, we are in a global world, okay, where most of the things we do now have or need some kind of international recognition.
Okay.
I happen to have done a very good work with the National Teaching Council in the past, where we even had some experts from the UK traveling down to Ghana here to come and benchmark our teacher licensing system. So that should tell you that this is something that we are doing right. This is something that we are doing to meet global standards. Okay. Aside that, also, we had a problem with several institutions now coming up and then offering teacher education. Okay, we have some institutions that now run these distant programs for teachers. So you attend those institutions, and after 4 years, you are awarded a BEd, a Bachelor of Education degree. So we needed that system that can be able to check those that we are bringing into the system, to check or to train our younger ones. You are a professional teacher. You attended college and you know what you went through to be trained as a teacher. It's not the same with our brothers and sisters who probably spend 4 years every weekend going for lectures to be trained as teachers. Okay, so we needed that gatekeeping measure, okay, to kind of test the standards of these teachers that we are getting into the system. And for me, I feel that the licensure exams has really been a very good gatekeeping measure that we are using to measure the competencies of our teachers. One key concern, and you know this very well, in the past we had the interview system and we had the entrance exam system before you are employed or before you gain admission into the College of Education.
Yeah.
You go through this process. It's where you write when you write an entrance exam.
Yes.
And then you also go for interview. But that is not the case now.
Why?
Okay, that's not the case now. About 2 years ago, we don't have those measures in place again. About 2 years ago, when we held a national dialogue to review this 4-year degree implementation in the colleges, we had tutors from the colleges of education who raised several concerns. That look, you had SHS graduates who come to the colleges with very good results, very good WASI results. But in the first semester, you realize that they flop. Their results do not match with what they brought from the senior high schools. Okay, and some of them still find a way to go through their 4-year study and come out. So if you came to the college with a very good result, 7 A's, and you still find your way through these 4 years to complete, and there's actually no gatekeeping measure to be able to sieve for us to get the best of the best, we'll just have anyone at all going into the classroom to quote and unquote pollute our wards. So for me, I will really urge the government,
right,
particularly the Minister for Education, to really tread cautiously with this issue of integrating the licensure exams into the final exams of the colleges of education and then the universities.
I see. So you are for the licensure exams, and then what else? What else were you also expecting that you didn't see much or get the attention at the vetting though?
Oh, I think aside that, the rest of the areas, Honorable Haruna Idrisu touched on the rest of the areas.
Okay.
One thing I'm actually expecting to see is also a lot of funding pushed into our basic education system. You see, in the past years, because of this free senior high school policy, which was very political, all resources were pushed into high school education.
Okay.
But you see, the foundation is very, very important. The foundation of this kids is very, very important. So I feel that at this point we need to shift focus or attention to our basic school system as well.
I see.
Their curriculum, though it was reviewed recently, but the materials for it. In the past years, we've heard of teachers complaining of teaching and learning materials. Even textbooks were not there. But we've had agencies like the Transforming Teaching, Education and Learning Tutor that has over the years supported the Ghana Education Service to get some good materials for schools. So I'm praying that this government will be able to shift focus there. We need a lot of infrastructure development at that level. At our colleges of education also, we need a lot of infrastructure there. I don't see why it should be paying adults residencies at the end of the month, still feeding them when they don't even have a place to sleep. Okay, I feel we are not setting priorities right with our education system.
I see.
And it's really worrying. So yeah, so those areas also need some level of attention.
Absolutely. I'll come to you shortly, but of course you are still here with us on Wake Up Africa. We're having a conversation with Dr. Atefua, who just went off trying to see if we can get him back. But of course, the Mr. Larry Agbador, who is the editor for the Teacher Education Journal, is the one you just saw. We're talking issues of education. It also concerns Africans, so wherever you're watching us from, you can let us know. We have opened the phone lines. Let's know what you want to see also on the continent of Africa by way of reforms, but most importantly also here in Ghana, up to our education system, the very fine details and the aesthetics that you see. It's got a bit of gaps that we need to also breach then. So we're having that conversation. The phone lines are on. You can call where you are. Let us know what you see done as soon as possible. The wrongs, right some of the wrongs that you are experiencing. Your ward in senior high school, what's the issue currently? The basics are the structures there that must be paid to it. Your thoughts are. The number of reports of CSOs. One that I read from was the Africa Education Watch with regards to the issue teacher trainee allowance. It said in one particular report of theirs that at a time when the NDC government unpopularly cancelled the teacher training allowance, the monies were used for, and according to them, bungalows and quite a number of infrastructure at that level. But because it became the issue, very big issue for the NDC as far as teacher trainees were concerned, they quickly had to bring it back. Of course, the ex-war government. Now is a thing that is going to stay. We're going to be re-engage Larry Agbador, who is off the line, but the teacher trainee allowance is on, must be something. Of course, some of us enjoyed it, but as we speak, must stay, something that must stay. Do we have a caller on the line? Do we have a caller on the line? All right, we do not. Bismarck is on the line. If you can hear, Dr. Atefua is back on the line. Dr. Atefua, if you can hear me, let's talk about the teacher trainee allowance. And I have had concerns. Your report, one of your reports showed that at the time when the DStv cancelled it, the monies were used for building infrastructure, i.e. classrooms, and also the teachers' bungalow. So there was improvement in that particular sector. Talk to me about it. Would it be something you want to go to the consultative dialogue with? Dr. Tefo, can you hear me?
Hello. Yes, I can hear you.
I hope you got my question.
Yeah, we were talking about pre-tertiary education.
Then we can talk allowance.
Okay. Yeah. So with the teacher allowance, do all these by sourcing of funds, as I've already established that for every country to succeed, according to UNESCO, we need about 20% of the national budget for education, which is about 4% of the GDP. So, for instance, if Ghana is having about 1 GDP, then about 3.3 million is left for education, and we can all do anything that it takes in education. The minister made it clear that he's going to uncap the GET fund. And if uncap the GET fund, they are going to get a 4 billion from the GET fund alone. And that's going to go a long way to help. And then also they can source for funds from other agencies, organizations that are in for that. Together, they can marshal all these funds to solve the problems confronting education. And I believe with that, they will be able to pay the teacher allowance.
That's interesting. Larry's back on via Zoom. Larry, if you can hear me, teacher trainee allowance versus the reports that I've read, especially for Africa Education Watch. I don't know if I've also conducted any research with regards to that. But after it was cancelled, the report said that they saw an improvement in infrastructure and, of course, by way of teachers' bungalows and all of that. Is it one of the things you want to send to the consultative dialogue, or at this point you feel that it will be a very unpopular call by the government, not inured to their benefit when it comes to elections?
Sure. You know, the NDC manifesto has spelled out a lot of things they want to do. And therefore, if they really want anything concerning the training allowances and putting up bungalow structures, other structures for all infrastructure in the education sector, they actually said, we in fact is going to start, but that alone is key. We're going to start from the stakeholders. So once you meet the stakeholders and there is a way out where you have to make a change in any of the statements that you have made, it means you have gotten their buy-in. If you get the buy-in of the stakeholders, whatever you do, they will support it. So that is key, as he said, that he is going to hold a stakeholders conference to discuss the issues confronting education with them and how they're going to tackle it. And for me, that alone is key. And therefore, if he goes out to do that, a lot of people are going to show him or tell him how he should go about solving the challenges confronting education in terms of finance. Everything and about 90% of the issues confronting education is about cash flow. It's about cash. So if we can talk to funds from so many sources and that we get more into the fund, then of course you'll be able to solve all these issues confronting education. So for me, I believe that they need to source for one. And one is by uncapping the debt fund. Two is by working out to get a lot more from the national budget into education. And that I believe they will be able to do it.
Let me go to Larry now. Larry, if you can hear me, same question to you. Where do we get cash to do so? Is it by way of cancelling the teacher training allowance, or you think that it will be an unpopular call?
For infrastructure?
By Africa Education Watch, that stated that when it was cancelled, there was improvement in infrastructure because those monies were then channeled into the building of schools and, of course, teachers' bungalows for the teachers.
Oh, yes. So the allowance actually was not cancelled in the past. I think that is one thing that the then Mahama-led administration failed to communicate properly on. The allowance, though it was suspended, what happened was that they were paying the student teachers then feeding grants. So which was also more or less like the allowance. The current president had started some kind of infrastructure projects across all the 46 colleges before he lost power in 2016. Unfortunately, when Nanado came in, most of those projects were kept on hold, saying they were going to do some kind of audits before they continue. And it may interest you to know that for 8 years, these audits never, they never had the opportunity to complete this audit, and these projects were left abandoned till we speak today. So I'm praying that with the return of John Mahama, most of these projects that he started in the colleges of education, he will be able to continue it. You go to a college like Baga College of Education in Tamale, which is very sickening. The situation there is so sickening. There's this 300-bed hostel facility that was started during President Mills' tenure. Mahama came in, completed it, did the roofing. What was left was just the final touches, the plastering of the wall. And for over 12 years now, the building has been left to rot that way. So you now have miscreants that have taken over such a project. But about 2 years ago, the past government awarded that same college 400-bed hostel when they could have just completed the hostel that was started by the previous government. So you have a lot of these projects scattered across all the 46 colleges. And that is because we had infrastructure deficit. That is how come they introduced the double track system in training our teachers. Okay, so the infrastructure situation in the colleges is very huge, very, very, very huge, and it needs some sort of immediate attention. You see, if you look at the priority that was given to the senior high schools as a result of the free senior high school, to increase infrastructure there, to accommodate the numbers they had, if they had just given 10% of that to the colleges, to our basic school systems, trust me, it will have made a huge difference, or will have made a headway in our sector. But all the attention was given to senior high schools just because of the political nature of the policy. Okay, we even had to go to the extent of providing them with tablets at the tail end of the former administration's government. You see, whilst even their teachers themselves, if you compare the tablets the students receive and then the laptops that are given to the teachers, you see a vast difference. So I feel this government needs to kind of, after this consultative dialogue, I feel they need to really take the concerns of the experts, of the stakeholders, if they really want to succeed within these 4 years. Enough of the politics. Let's listen to the technocrats. Let's listen to the technical people on what is really good for the sector. And I think with that, in the next 4 years, we'll come back and have this conversation and say, yes, we've made a headway.
Is that not going to be a weakness on the part of Honorable Haruna, finally on this? Because he's hot-headed, and when he's convinced, his convictions are well grounded in his decisions. And so, as much as you might consider him as your very intelligent, eloquent person, very hot-headed, and when he's convinced, he does not take it. Of course, that's why you find him pushing for things, even when there's a consultative dialogue pending to address some of these issues, especially with your expert advice. Is that not going to be a weakness, Larry?
Well, I feel it's early days yet to completely say that it's a weakness, and then he may not be able to get the buy-in of stakeholders or make use of stakeholders. It's probably early days yet. I trust that when he assumes office, he will be able to bring all these stakeholders on board, listen to their views, and no matter how strong he is with his convictions and how intelligent and eloquent he is, as we have said, I believe that the best he can do for our sector is to actually take into consideration the views of the experts who are in the sector. They can best guide him. And yesterday I heard him say rightly that, look, they are not going to abandon most of the projects that have been started by the previous government. And for me, I thought that was a good one. If he can continue in that direction, governance is a continuous process. It shouldn't be the case that Party A comes, starts something, Party B comes and says, okay, that was not my policy, that was not my idea, so I'm putting it on hold to start a completely fresh policy or idea. I heard him talk yesterday about the curriculum, a review of the curriculum. I was a bit alarmed about that because that is already ongoing. And I think we're almost at its final stages. So maybe we can say he'll consolidate the gains that have been made with the review process. But to say there's going to be a complete review of it again, it looks like we are going back to square one. So I believe it's early days yet, and I trust that we will be able to bring together all the stakeholders, even ahead of the consultative dialogue, to get their buy-in. If we do that, in the next 4 years, we should make progress.
I see. Final words, Dr. Atefua, before we let you go. Final words in a minute.
Hello?
Yes, Doc, if you can hear me, if you can share your final words with us before we go.
Right. So I want to say that Honorable Haruna Idrisu is welcome to the Ministry of Education, and I want to continue to just add to all that he said, that if as he is coming, he listens. He called for the consultative meeting and listens to the stakeholders and tap from their knowledge, skills, and experiences, and then add to whatever repertoire of knowledge, skills, and experiences that he is bringing on board. I believe he will be able to succeed in this area of education. There are a lot more issues confronting pre-tertiary education, and now they've added on to that of the tertiary. And I believe if he listens, as he's saying, and tap all the experiences, knowledge, advice that people will give, and then use it, all that they have said, they will be able to do it. He said they are resetting Ghana, they are resetting the agenda. Therefore, everything that is not worth doing, that we've been doing, will be changed. The paradigm shift may change, and we may move on to a better Ghana education. And I believe, and I think that by uncapping Get Fund, everything depends on the cash. If they get a lot of cash flow, by aligning the Ministry of Education's budget to that of the Ministry of Finance, previously you could see that there were some challenges here and there. But if they align the budget of the Ministry of Education to that of Ministry of Finance, we will be able to move forward, and he will be able to salvage some of these issues confronting education. We wish him well as he comes down to office.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Dr. Peter Atefo is Senior Education Advisor at the Africa Education Watch. Larry, before we go, final words in a minute.
I have no doubt that Honorable Haruna Idrisu will succeed. In fact, when you talk to experts in the sector, they always tell you that anytime we have someone who is not seen as an education person, that is when the ministry or the sector actually does well. Examples of that are Honorable Betty Modi Idrisu and then Dr. Matthew Poku-Prempeh. These two stand out as people who have done very well for the sector when it comes to education, because they were not the so-called education people that we call them, but they came, they listened to the experts, and then they gave the approval for most of the things that the experts suggested to them. There are times that we have people that we say they are education people, and they come rather, and then it's a different thing altogether. So with the background of Honorable Haruna Idrisu, we have no doubt that he will succeed, but he will succeed if he involves the stakeholders, if he listens to them. And as I said earlier on, in 4 years' time, we'll come back here and we're talking about progress. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Larry K. Agbado is editor, Teacher Education Journal. They've joined us even as we've had that conversation with regards to the education sector, the gains, the successes, and what we are looking forward to, the expectations on the shoulders of the minister and, of course, this government. We'll take a quick break, and, of course, Biadala will join us even as we say our goodbyes. Stay with us.
Yes,
grateful to God who has made it possible for us to be here, start off a good day with you. Here we are ending, but to connect it to yet another day at 6:30 a.m. tomorrow. Though.
Yeah, right? Yeah. We're fired up always to bring you what's necessary, news, weather, whatever it is. And we are excited that you always allow us into your homes and on your tabs, on your phones, wherever you are. Don't forget to follow us on the social media handles, follow, like, and drop comments, and also share with us the things that you want to see on the morning show that will be able to cook and serve you as we go. Good
Grateful
show today?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good day. Grateful to our guests and, of course, our viewers across the world. We're grateful. Let's make a day tomorrow. There's something exciting, and we're sure to continue also the African Opportunities Initiatives, the Thought Leadership Series very soon, even as we bring to you very, very insightful conversations. My name is Koku Lumo, and I can't wait to see you.
And my name is Biadola. We'll see you tomorrow.